That's right, Jeff. Police have identified the suspect as Frank Malone, who worked and lived at the facility. They say drugs was a factor in this whole ordeal, but they haven't released a motive or what they believe happened leading up to him holding his roommates hostage. I'm going to step out of the way and show you the house where this all happened. Now, police tell us this started yesterday afternoon when Malone held one man and two women against their will. No one knew this was happening until this morning when two of them were able to escape and get to police, but the third hostage was still inside. Schools and daycares went on lockdown and roads were closed until around 3 this afternoon when she was finally released. Malone surrendered shortly after that. Now, two women who know him say they are just in shock that he did this.
He participated in the meeting, spoke about his accomplishments and things like that. He seemed like a fairly decent man. I mean, I would have never expected anything like this out of him.
And while this whole ordeal lasted over 24 hours, police tell us no one was injured during the process. Now, Malone is a convicted felon, and residents here tell us guns are not even allowed inside this house. And we talked to a neighbor who says police have been called to this house at least 4 times this year alone. We'll have his interview tonight on the late feed. For now, I'm Latasha Givens in Austell, 11 Alive News.